Now who want them, who crossing on? Now who want them, who bottom? If you got stripes, then you let the city know you rock them. Yeah, we got them, yeah, we fought them. Like that black and orange on bottle, single bottle, never stop it. So the feasting on them. Who they rocking with the diamond stripes, flossing on the ring. Cincinnati, she's our queen. We gon' show the world who king. Orange in the day, black in the night. Stripes in our veins, sparks gonna fly. The beast is awake, orange, black and white. Cause when the jungle come alive, who they we ignite in the...
Welcome to Bengals and Brews. I'm Del Altman, joined by Derek, the Face, Arrow, BSG, Big Savage Greg, and special guest / man of the people, the Iceman, Jeff Trinipool. You do 47 live shows. You have to be a man of the people.
47, that's a lot.
Well,
I'll do it today.
You've probably done 47 live shows, in person this season. Close, just saying.
I have no idea. I have to count them. Well, I mean,
Jeff, does that hat say do Greg?
No, it does not say do Greg.
It says do Greg.
You need to get to sleep, Greg. It says do good. Like Joe Burrow, his brand do good. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, man, it's like...
Jeez, you're making fun of Joe Burrow's brand. What is wrong with you, Greg?
I'm like, damn, man, Jeff wants to do me? That's very complimentary. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's already off the rails. Jeez.
You should.
Yeah.
You should.
Actually, by the way, you bring up how he shows. Sometime around here is my anniversary of when I actually started. So I probably on my 7th year. So I've done.
Wait, when is your anniversary?
For my show, I don't know. I don't remember.
I was going to say my birthday's Friday. Maybe it's on my birthday.
I don't know. It's. You have to go back and look it up. It's somewhere around in January. I don't remember. Whenever I decided to go live, the fan in my kitchen did a video.
So the Bengals, in Bengals news, we talked about the 4 firings yesterday. The one already picking up a little steam is defense coordinator, which is the biggest opening, obviously, anytime it's a coordinator position. They brought in 2 guys. So DeMarcus Covington, 35 years old, was the Pats defensive coordinator this year. They were 22nd overall in yards as a team. He was their D-line coach from 2020 to 2023. So I don't know. He's a young guy, maybe up-and-coming guy. But I also wonder, too, you bring in a guy like that, let's say he doesn't get another defense coordinator position. I look at him almost like he could potentially be a guy you circle back to as a defensive line coach. I think that one makes more sense that way. Anything you guys have looked in? I knew nothing about these guys before today. Obviously, just been trying to look into them since the Bengals were interviewing. And we'll get to Patrick Graham, the other guy, here in a second.
I knew nothing about each of them. I mean, they both seem, now the Raiders guy, if Max Crosby is in the deal with it, then come on down. I'm okay
you
with
can
that,
just forget that.
Yeah, that's not happening.
That's not happening.
I know. The thing of it is, you need to get a veteran presence guy, because this is a D coordinator you're going to give the keys to the car to. No, I mean, and the young guy for the Pats, he's intriguing. Don't get me wrong, but you need a Robert Saleh.
See, I actually got a different take on that. What if you get a young up-and-coming hungry guy who is looking to make a name for himself? And the thing what I think that Lou didn't do is get the young guys to be able to develop and play. I mean, we've talked about this. Me and Dale, you've talked about it. Is Dax Hill was a first-round pick. Miles Murphy was a first-round pick. I'm not saying they're bust, but first-round picks need to be impact guys. Lou was one that signed off on Dax Hill to be a safety. That didn't work. Miles Murphy has been good, but he hasn't been an impact first-round plug-and-play guy that we needed. That's where I'm like, I don't like everybody wants the names. I don't care about the name. I just want the fit. A guy who can come in, because to me, you're going to spend a lot of money. If they sign T, you're going to spend a lot of money in Jamar. Most of the money is going to go to the offensive side of the ball. You got to be able to get a guy who could take young guys and get them to buy in and figure out the scheme. I think Lou's scheme was a little hard for younger guys to figure out. Get somebody who can get a scheme in, and the guys can come in and learn it and be good at it quickly. And I don't know if that's Robert. I don't know who that is. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know if you need a big name. We need a guy who can work with what we have and what we have in the future.
Well, I think this is important to mention while we're talking about the big names. And then, Derek, I'll ask you about Covington or your thoughts on just him before we switch to Patrick Graham. But Rapine has mentioned that as of now, there's not interest in some of the bigger names that people float out, like Robert Saleh and Dennis Allen. And that does concern me a little bit, because there's a part of me that worries, is that something Zach doesn't want this guy looking over his shoulder because he's a former head coach? And if Zach starts out 1-3, 0-3, to start the season and gets canned because the fans are just pissed off. Because I mean, this is a scenario.
You know, Mike Brown's still the owner, right?
anytime you fire 4 coaches like this, it's sending a message to the head coach that, hey, if,
Zach fired him.
We can say Zach fired him, but he also said if T's brought back, they work step in step on everything they do. I'm just saying it's a two-way street for both things. They work step in step on everything they do.
I don't agree with that whatsoever. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think they're looking for the right. If you listen to what Zach said, they're looking for the right fit, is what I think. And the right fit, and because it even goes with the offensive line coach. I don't think Pog was the right fit with the run game. I think you need a offensive line coach and a run game coordinator. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
No, Jeff. The thing of it is, here's my take. I don't think it was really Zach's. I think someone told Zach, "You make these changes, or else we're going to make a change on our own," and all that. Yeah, I think he was forced.
Mike Brown.
That's just my personal opinion and all that and stuff. I still like Zach Taylor. I still like Zach, but my personal opinion is somebody came to him and said, "You know what? This was disappointing this year. We had the best quarterback, best receiver, best pass rusher. We didn't make the playoffs. Something's got to give." Either you do something or we do something.
I mean, you can disagree. That's just
it's fine.
No, it's cool.
It's fine. Mike Brown has never, ever done that. So that's why I don't think it is. That's why, honestly, if it was up to Mike Brown, I don't think he would have changed anything. Because this is what's happened in the past. The defense gets better, and then Mike Brown goes, "Oh, we're all good." So this is not a Mike Brown move. This is not.
But we
a
also
Bengal
talk
move.
about Mike Brown doesn't run everything on the day-to-day.
But you guys have also said Mike Brown does run it. So that's what you guys said this on the show before.
No, we have never not once said that Katie and Troy. See, now you're just fucking trying to put words out there for no reason, Jeff, and that's kind of fucked up thing to do. No, Mike Brown is the owner and has been a clown for 30 fucking years. That's,
you still say you guys have said that.
You don't think Katie and Troy run the day-to-day and the contract and everything
I've
else?
said that. I think they do. Yeah, but I still don't think they put an ultimatum out there.
We have talked about all 3 of them doing those things.
But again, I don't see. Then maybe I'm wrong. But in the past, they don't do this. I think, like I said, Zach. I take Zach for his word. He said it was his decision. I think he made the decision because this is not a Bengal move. They've never done this before.
Well, no. Before
not everybody.
They fired Terrell Austin.
Yeah, not everybody. Like I said, not everybody. This is the first time they fired a defensive coordinator. That's it. And then they kept all the other coaches. They blew the whole side out, plus the offensive line coach. They've never fired. I don't remember them ever firing this many coaches. So that's just my opinion. This is a different move than the Bengals have ever done before. And you can disagree with me all you want, but that's my opinion.
Well, we're all entitled to those.
Yeah. Personally, when it comes to new blood, I don't care if it's a new guy up and coming, or I don't care if it's a guy that's like a Robert Saleh. I don't care who it is. Just make sure it's a right fit for the guys we have.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
On the team.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's fine too.
Yeah.
Am I a little worried because he hasn't necessarily he doesn't have the skins on the wall? Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about that, but I think it was Paul Daner and who's the other guy that does the growler? Paul Daner and Jay Morrison. Sorry. They were talking about it earlier on one of their podcasts about how, maybe they get one of these younger coaches that appeal more to these younger guys and can get more out of them. And they're not really, Zach's not the kind of coach that's really hard on push, got to do this, got to grind these guys out and wear them out. He's more of a player's coach, and maybe they want to try to keep that same mindset from every side of the ball.
Well, you got to have the same coaching philosophy on your staff, I think. I mean, that's most staffs have that.
So we'll move on to Patrick Graham because I actually find.
And by the way, I'm not trying to argue. Somebody said in the comment, I'm not trying to argue. I'm just giving my point. Sorry, go ahead.
I know, but I mean, everyone's got to have time to, just think what they think. That's all this is. And everyone's going to have different opinions on Zach Taylor, on if Lou should have been fired. There's a lot of people saying Lou should have never been fired. I ended up somewhere in the middle, honestly, after winning 5 straight games. Because I want a clear upgrade.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah.
And I think Robert Saleh, Dennis Allen, the fact that they've coached, that they've coached top 10 defensive units as defensive coordinators. And I've seen some people putting Antonio Pierce, who just got fired by the Raiders, if anybody hasn't seen that.
Yeah.
Antonio Pierce has never been a defense coordinator. He was a linebacker coach and then went to interim coach and then was the head coach. That would be one reason that I would also probably be against that. And it doesn't have to. So at least this Covington guy, before we move off him, does have 1 year as a defense coordinator. And it's hard to really shit on the guy because they were 22nd in yards. He's 35 years old. And they traded Matthew Judon right before the season started, their best defensive player.
Yeah.
So what did they really have to work with in New England for this guy in his first year as defensive coordinator?
He beat the Bengals.
That's true. He did.
And we know Sheldon Rankins and Geno Stone got contracts for those reasons. So.
Yeah. And you can look at it this way, too. I mean, 22nd, that's a step up from where we were this year.
Anything's a step up.
Yeah.
But like you said, no, he's still 35 years old. He's still up and coming. But like you said, Dale, if I could get him as the D-line coach, sign me up immediately for that.
Yeah, here's a young guy with a year defense coordinator experience, but with 4 years as a defensive line coach experience, a young guy that can relate to players. All the good parts we're saying, right, for somebody we're looking in. If we can get that guy for the D-line coach, because Marion Hobby was a pretty old guy, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's kind of getting a little long in the tooth. He was college, Clemson, bounced around for a long time. So, if you're talking about getting some younger guys, fresh guys in there, and I'm not ruling this guy out as defense coordinator, but I think it makes sense that if he doesn't get another defense coordinator job anywhere, whether that be here or elsewhere, maybe this is a name to keep in mind for the D-line coach, because that's also a position we have open, and linebacker coach too.
And
I believe he's done that.
Can I say one thing that we all keep in mind, that Lou and Maru, none of us, including myself, was I'm not going to talk for you guys. I was not excited about getting him hired the first time. He was the fifth one. So just because it's not a named guy doesn't mean he's not going to be good. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, remember when we had a Florida defensive coordinator for 1 year, he turned us down to go back to college, and he got fired from Florida a year later. Go figure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was not a Lou fan for the first 2 years.
I think you coined the term Lou Armadillo.
Armadillo.
Right?
I did. Yeah, I said I wouldn't say that anymore, so I haven't said it. After he took us to the Super Bowl, I said, all right, I'll never call him that again. So I haven't.
Yeah, and Lou's going to get another D coordinator job. Yes. I'd be shocked if he didn't this season, unless he chooses that he wants to take a year off or something like that.
Yeah.
But
or that he'll easily be a defensive backs coach if he can't find a coordinator job.
I mean, the funny thing is he went from head, trying to get a head coaching job to being fired within the year.
I've already heard the wire with him in Arizona. He almost got it.
Yeah.
I've already heard.
And then, go ahead, Derek. Sorry.
I was just about to say, I've already heard that there were some connections with him and possibly going to the Jets or the Giants, because, the guy is from Staten Island. So, I mean, that makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, go home.
Yeah, and with the Jets, we'll see who, they end up hiring for
How
head
funny
coach,
would it be if they hire Rex Ryan back as their head coach?
Yeah, I saw they interviewed him. Like, what?
Well, they're
what's
interviewing
the purpose of that?
They're interviewing Trey Brown, who's basically our assistant GM. I mean, let's just call it what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he doesn't have that title per se, because we don't have a GM title.
He will if he goes to the Jets. He'll have that title,
right? But if he goes there's a connection with Lou and being from that area. So it would make sense. Like, you're not going to hire a D coordinator before you hire a head coach. But you can get your head coach on board with a lot of D, especially Lou. Like, Lou can say, "Hey, if we're good enough to get to face Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in the playoffs, go watch my tape against them." That is what Lou can say to them.
Can I ask you guys, before you move on to the next one, I just want to ask you a question. And I agree with what you're saying, Dale, about maybe possibly bringing him in for a D-line coach. But I'm kind of hoping that they hire a defense coordinator and then that guy hires his own coaching staff is what I would. I'm not going to say that. I don't know.
No,
I kind of doubt they're going to do that, but that's what I prefer them do.
Well, that's how it should be, and that's why, and Zach didn't rule out that the cornerback coach and the safety coach, Kovacs and Burks, could be out. Like, he didn't say they're definitely 100% here. They're not out yet, so maybe they would like to keep them, but they're not ruling out that, a new guy wants to bring in his own people. And I always think that should be part of it, too, because especially here, Zach being an offensive-minded head coach, we want a D coordinator that comes in that has control of his side of the ball.
And do we make the run coordinator job a separate job? I kind of want to. Because look how good,
wouldn't you, right?
Yeah.
I think more staff, more personnel, more scouts, more everything, more coaches, all that is good.
And look how good the passing coordinator went. I mean, I know it's a different side of the ball, but it's the same kind of nuance, just one sole purpose job is the running game. And we all can agree we need to get the running game better. I think it was better with Chase Brown, but it needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, it's short yardage and goal. Red zone struggles you can trace back to the inability to run in the red zone and short yardage areas. We will move on though. Patrick Graham. See, and once again, I was all about the big names. It's not sounding likely for any of them. I thought it made sense. Saleh, Eberflus, Dennis Allen. As of right now, there's nothing floating out there that says they're connected to them. But some of those guys are also interviewing. We know Saleh's interviewing for head coaching jobs. But also, so is Patrick Graham. Patrick Graham is interviewing for the Jaguars head coaching job, but he's also going to interview here.
And that might be a reason why they didn't get in for the D coordinator jobs, because he's trying to get a head coach job. Maybe he doesn't want to take a D coordinator interview right now. I mean, just throwing that out.
Exactly. Why take that interview if you think you got a shot at getting one of the head coaching jobs?
Right.
I think that fully makes sense. This Patrick Graham, his contract ran out with the Raiders. It's not that the Raiders fired him or got rid of him either. They like him. He's actually well respected and well liked, and it's not his first time as a defense coordinator. You can say the Giants, you just think of the Giants. Oh, they're awful. The Giants went to the playoffs a couple years ago, and he
won the
was
Super Bowl with them,
on that staff.
Yeah, he won the Super Bowl with them, I'm pretty sure.
No, he wasn't. So he's been Raiders defense coordinator for 3 years. I take that back. My bad.
I thought he was.
Like I said, didn't know a lot about his assistant head coach and defense coordinator with the Giants from 20 to 21. But I've seen some Giants fans saying that they liked him when he was with them. I'm trying to think of the year they went with Saquon and they had that run. I think he was already with the Raiders, right? That was like 22. Does that sound about right?
That was when that was his first year coaching.
That was Daniel Jones' rookie year, I believe.
Yeah. Or no, I think it was the second year because that's the coach
year,
now. That was his first year, and anyway.
But he was Dolphins defense coordinator 2019, Giants 2020, 21, and now he's been with the Raiders the last few years. And it wasn't like they fired him. And to be 15th in yards on a Raiders team, how good's that offense? Who's the Raiders' top 3 receivers? Who's the Raiders' running back? Who's the Raiders' quarterback from week in, week out? So if you look at that standpoint, their offense isn't staying on the field hardly ever. They're not scoring many points. So to be 15th in defense and you were probably on the field a lot, since your offense couldn't hardly do shit,
right?
I think that's actually pretty impressive.
No,
and
it is.
He went to college at Yale, and I'm just going to say, Greg loves a man named Andre Yosevich who went to Princeton. This coach went to Yale.
Yeah.
Well respected, obviously smart dude. I mean, shit, I couldn't get him to Yale.
But here's the thing
thought you turned that down.
The one thing these two guys that are interviewing have in common is they're on the Belichick coaching tree. And look at the Belichick coaching tree: Romeo Crennel, Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels, Matt Patricia. It's just not good. Anytime I see any connection to a Bill Belichick coaching tree, I'm like, I don't know about this.
Yeah, I agree with it. Well, the bend don't break style defense. Yeah, I don't want that, and I don't want anybody that. I would say, what's your plan on 3rd and 17? If they say rush 3, all right, nice to meet you.
Yep.
Got you back on a flight. We're not rushing 3 on 3rd and 17. Rush 4, at least make it like,
I want to go back to Al Golden. I mean, I would not be against Al Golden. Al Golden, I mean, look what he's done with Notre Dame. He did a great job as our linebackers coach here. He was I'd be all for getting Al Golden to come
and you
back.
whe hear his name mentioned right now because they're still in the college football
exactly.
And he's a former NFL head coach. I mean, or excuse me,
He coached the Miami Hurricanes. Yes.
Didn't he coach the 49ers too? I thought he did.
I don't think he was head coach. I think he was only head coach for
maybe I'm wrong.
Miami.
I
but very good. Then he came here he was with Miami for quite a while. Then he came here, and he was really good as a linebacker coach.
Yeah, our linebackers were. Wasn't he the linebacker coach in 21?
Yeah, but 2 years went to Super Bowl, 2021. Yeah, and so that's Logan Wilson had his best years under him.
Yeah, I mean,
we tossed that name out, and I really like that name.
Yeah, but he's never was a head coach.
We don't know if he's even interested. Notre Dame just gave him an extension, too, like a year ago.
Notre Dame might pay more than the Bengals do.
Well, maybe we could get the Notre Dame head coach to come here then.
Oh, God, that would be...
He did great with you. No, I'm just kidding. He ain't going anywhere. But I'd love to have him.
Will is also an encyclopedia.
Not Virginia. It was
he might have been at Virginia before that.
It was Tulane. Or not Tulane, Temple. It was Temple.
Temple in Miami.
It was Temple in Miami.
Yes, he was.
But yeah,
I remember he wore the suit and tie. I always remember that.
Yeah, I remember it from Miami.
And Temple was in whatever conference the Bearcats were in. Temple was in there. We played them. So
see, and this is Charles. This is what I thought too. This is why these names were tossed out before. When we were like 4-8, we were talking about Al Golden, Dennis Allen. The connections are already there because they wanted Dennis Allen the first go round when hiring a defense coordinator, and he stayed with the Saints.
So I got a question for you guys. So remember last time I think Lou was his 5th choice.
Yeah.
That was before we had Joe Burrow.
5th known choice, right?
Yeah, exactly. So do you think Zach gets his first choice? Do you think it's because I think it's a pretty coveted position because Joe Burrow, Jamar are on this team, and they do have a chance to win a Super Bowl. And if you have and the thing is, if you have a defense, you don't have to be a top 10. If you can be a top 15 defense, you could be getting a shot at a head coaching job because of how good the team did. So that's why I think it's a pretty lucrative or attractive defense coordinator job. What do you guys think?
Yeah, we talked about that quite extensively yesterday when they got fired on here. So if anybody wants to go back to YouTube, like and subscribe and check that episode out. But yeah, we talked about a lot of that.
See, I'll just help you guys out right there.
There you go. Transitioned that so smoothly too with it. So boom. But no, I do think it's an attractive position.
Yeah.
I think they want to avoid the problem, but Zach came in last time when that happened, the Super Bowl. It was different rules on interviewing these guys in between the rounds of playoffs and things. Mm-hmm. And he waited till like the Super Bowl run was over basically to be hired. So I think it's a little different now, but I do think we were so late. Some of these guys that they probably would have liked was already snagged up too.
True, because Zach was a very late hire, so yeah.
So not making the playoffs, that is one thing. You have a head start on
plenty of time
process. But that's why it is like that is one thing. It's good to see, and maybe you don't want DeMarcus Covington. This is just for everybody in general. Maybe you don't want Patrick Graham, which I kind of like Patrick Graham. No, but there's still plenty of time to do interviews, but the fact they're moving this quick already,
yes,
I will say,
I think a good thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I will say that unlike other teams, and this is one thing that will get you fired up, Dale, I'm sure, but I think they do kind of need to move quickly because these guys, their only job isn't coaching. They got to scout. They got to look at these free agents that's coming up in a couple months. They got to look at the draft. They got to do all the scouting because we don't have the personnel department to do all that.
They got to
rely on our coaches for that.
Derek, like when we had Gruden and Jackson on the they always said the coaches are very involved in the draft process. So yeah, you're right. They want to get him in here now so he can get everything all organized.
And not all coaches want to do that too, which could be a Dennis Allen, a Matt Eber. They're like, no, our scouts and GM and front office did that. And it's like, here, some will want to do it. Some want the involvement. And others say, I will take my extra 2 weeks in Cancun and my 20-year-old girlfriend because all these old coaches have 20-year-olds.
Why would you not want? I mean, I would want to say what goes on. I mean,
because
I thought you were going to say, why would you not want a 20-year-old girlfriend?
But if you have a scout and all that and stuff, I'll be like, well, do I trust this guy? I want to see my own eyes if this guy could fit in my system or something. That's just my personal opinion.
Because some of these guys are older and don't want to have to do all that crap.
That's true.
That's why I go back to the younger guy. And the thing is, just because I keep going back to this point, just because it's not a name guy doesn't mean anything. Because look at the two offense coordinator and defense coordinator for the Lions. We know nobody ever heard of them. At least I haven't. Maybe you guys did.
Aaron Glenn, man. Aaron Glenn played in the NFL.
Played in the NFL, man.
Okay.
Yeah. I like how Dan Campbell built his staff that way.
I know, but you heard of his name. You didn't think he was going to be this good of an offense coordinator, did you?
Defense coordinator that soon, that good?
Yeah, sorry.
There was no way to know that.
Right. That's right. That's what I'm saying. So I mean, he was a known name, but not as far as Robert Saleh was the Jets' former head coach and the 49ers former defensive coordinator. So that he's not that is kind of what I'm saying. So.
All right, Greg, I know you only wanted to give about a half an hour, so I want to get do you have any thoughts on the Graham guy and candidates in general? Because,
like I say, they're two young guys. I mean, I'm not against them. They're just names I don't know. But the more we talk about them, the more interesting they sound. So we'll see. I mean, like I say, I still think there's going to be more to come. So, but as of right now, why? We'll see.
You say something about more come?
If there is more to come, huh?
Oh, there'll be more coming. I hope there's more coming this offseason.
Go eat some cake.
Yeah.
All right, Greg, you want to stick around?
I'll stick around for a couple more minutes. I can stick around.
Dustin, what's up, brother?
What's going on, guys? What a busy week, huh?
Yeah, we're already kicking it off with a bang. At least they're bringing in some candidates already because I think it's good. It might not be who ends up being hired, but that's fine. Get these guys in here. And like I said, Covington, if you end up circling around later on to him being a D-line coach, I think there's nothing wrong with getting more guys in the building when you got to fill linebacker coach, D-line coach, and defense coordinator on the defensive side of the ball. But any thoughts on Covington or Graham to start with? And I barely knew anything about either of them prior to today. I'm literally looking on Wikipedia pages for where they coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, it's good to cast a wide net. I mean, hell, you could even learn things from these candidates too, like philosophy, and pull that from them, like any interview does. So, but just kind of thinking about the backgrounds and the organizations, maybe not so much the Raiders, but where they come from, it's very tough, physical, disciplined. And I think if you look at our defense this year, it lacked a lot of discipline. There was still coverage misassignments, communication issues. So I think those kind of staples and coaches that have that experience of just having, tough, disciplined defenses, I think you're going to just see improvement in those areas, just to start off with. So I think both those guys, not knowing, to your point, a lot about them, I just think they come from those backgrounds and those philosophies, which I think is key. And a lot of times, man, just do your assignments in defense, and let your, the Trey
job
and your pass.
Your job. That's a Marvin Lewis T-shirt.
Yeah. I mean,
I have it upstairs.
I do have that.
And one of the things when I think about Lou, and maybe that, we talk about the simplification of the defense. I mean, maybe that was the problem the whole time, right? I think sometimes if you try to get almost, as much as I love creative offenses and defenses and throwing different schemes, you
also can't fit a square peg in a round hole.
Exactly. And I think there comes this breaking point where it actually becomes too chaotic for you to implement with a team that is not playing to their full potential because they're just thinking too much. So there's just this balancing act of being disciplined, being creative, and you got to find that somewhere. And I just think he never really found it into the end of the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of go back to what I was saying. You need a potentially younger, no-name guy that has an easier system because we're going to spend too much. We're going to spend most of our money on the offense. We're not going to spend as much money on defense, especially if they sign T. So you need young guys to be able to come in here and pick it up quick and not be so exotic all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing I like, because like I said, didn't know a lot about these guys, trying to read up on them and then doing a show, as quick as possible, just names that weren't necessarily on my radar. But Patrick Graham, I seen something, reading something about, I'm going to adjust to the players. I'm willing to be versatile, and that goes back to the square peg round hole thing I was saying. That's important, right? Maybe you don't have your guy. Your guy was Jesse Bates. I get that. Jesse Bates, great. Wish we would have kept him. But you don't have Jesse Bates anymore. Maybe you've got to, change your scheme up a little bit and how you do things to get the best out of who you do have in the building. Because I think every team has to do that at times. You never can keep everybody you want. And I'm not trying to make excuses for things, but because the front office needs to invest more. So don't think I'm making excuses for that because they need to show a bigger commitment. But I like that it was we're not going to stand still. We're going to fire these coaches. And Jeff, back to your point earlier of you did mention, hey, that's a little outside the norm to get rid of that many guys at once. It's not just hey, one change, that'll fix everything. Or no changes, we won 5 straight, let's run it back.
Yeah.
And now that they're already starting these interviews and starting the process, bang, bang, let's go. Let's hit the ground running.
Yeah,
we're focused on getting better now.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing saying that however you want to look at it, Zach fired him, however you want to look at it, it's a good thing that this is not good enough. However, whoever pulled the plug, this isn't good enough. You got to do better. And now one thing I'll say this, guys. Now, Zach, like I said, Zach came out and said that he's the one that was his decision. So I'll put this out there for you. So we go ahead and Zach hires his guys, on the defense and offensive line coach, and it's still the same. Say we miss the playoffs next year. Zach, in my opinion, then Zach's got to go because there's nowhere else to go. You made your big change, and it still didn't work.
Yeah.
So Zach, to me, Zach is a big year for this. This is the biggest offseason in Bengals history by far, I will say, and for Zach Taylor, because if he doesn't get this right, he might not be the Bengals coach after this.
Yep. No, he's on the hot seat for sure next year. 100%.
Yeah, and I think that was like when it was a little tense to start the show. I think we're all in agreement. Like Zach probably
How would
has
it be
to
intense?
his seat has to feel a little hot, no matter if you're a Zach guy or not a Zach guy. And I'm perfectly fine with Zach wasn't on my chopping block at all at the end because of what the offense has done this season.
Right.
Like, and ultimately that is, and yes, I know a head coach should oversee everything, but that's why I think this job is appealing for defense coordinators, as we've talked about for 2 days. You run the show. You run the show on that side of the ball. You know, it's all up to you to do it. Derek, haven't got to you in a while. I know you're driving, probably got to get out of here soon, but any thoughts on Patrick Graham, on anything else that we've been discussing?
No, not really much on Patrick Graham. I'll have to look into him when I get home tonight.
That's what everybody should do, right? Don't just say, "Oh, it's not Robert Saleh. I'm pissed."
Yeah.
Right.
Find out about each candidate.
It might not be Robert Saleh. Everybody needs to realize that.
I don't even think Robert's interviewing for defensive coordinator position.
That's what he's interviewing for head coaching.
That's the thing.
People are getting mad. Like I think he'd be willing to sit a year. I don't think he wants to go back to being the defense.
No,
I agree with that.
Is he the dream guy? Sure.
It's the same thing with Al Golden right now. He's still coaching with Notre Dame. He's not going to go interview. He's concentrating on trying to go to the championship.
And that's the thing too. Yeah. Sorry, Derek, we're cutting you off again.
Oh,
but to Greg, I think Greg, you said it Dale said it. They got to do this quick. So Al Golden might not be if they keep playing the playoffs. Al Golden might be out just because they can't interview him. Go ahead, Derek. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, one thing that I wanted to circle back to.
Yeah, but guys, listen.
But hold on a second. I got one more point.
Not so much the defensive side, but when we were talking
go back
about
to the chicken fucking, let him go.
Yeah, when we were talking about Trey Brown, one thing that worries me if he were to take a GM job somewhere, what's a guy that he knows real well, and who could potentially be an up and coming head coach?
Pitch.
Yep. And if Pitch ends up going, I could see Lou Anarumo going with Pitch, just because of, the continuity and everything there. So then you're basically going to have to reload everything from that point.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: if we would have made the playoffs, Pitch would be interviewing for head coaching jobs.
That's what I was about to say. I haven't seen anything on Pitcher yet connected. I expect he'll get some interviews. I still think he's a year away from getting a head coaching job. Look how long it took Callahan to get one, though.
Yeah, I know, but in Pitcher's first year, he's got the passing yard leader and the Triple Crown leader on his offense.
Yep. And not to mention, everybody thought when Zach Taylor got hired, he was a year away from being head coach. A lot of teams will do that. They'll take a guy. Not a lot of teams, but
just to get
the
him.
Bengals.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
But teams will take a guy a year early just because they see that in him.
Well, especially if like Greg or Derek said, if they take our Troy, who be for their general manager, he knows them, so he knows how good pitch can be. To me, that's an easy. I can totally see that if that happens.
I'm going to kick this question around from Anthony here. He says, thoughts on Robert Livingston? I kind of mentioned it, I feel like, a little bit yesterday. Would he be an option at defense coordinator? He was here and the familiarity, so I always think you got to always look at the connections that the Bengals have. That's at least based on history. They like to bring guys that they're somewhat familiar with in at times. I don't think that's necessarily the case for this time, but then he coached Colorado and was solid for Colorado as their defense coordinator. Came up here as a scout. I will start it with Greg. Greg, what are your thoughts on Robert Livingston being a candidate and just in general?
Yeah, like I say, he's got connections with the Bengals, obviously. And Dion, look, you coach with Dion. Dion, I guarantee you, a lot of coaches wanted to coach with Dion. That was probably a solid job. But the thing of it is, he had a lot of good players to coach and all that and stuff. So I don't, like I say, I wouldn't be against it. I could see why it could happen because of the connections and all that. I just don't. I don't know. I go back and forth on that one.
I personally, I mean, if it works, great. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the mindset where I really don't want to go through the, the retreads, and he's not really a retread, but like go through the guys that's been in this office before, been here before, and I understand for continuity's sake, but I feel like the team needs a different voice in that room. And I just feel like if we brought Livingston back, then it's kind of be the same thing.
Yeah. Like I say, when we hired Derek, that's like when we hired a new head coach. You had Hugh Jackson, Vance Joseph. I'm like, I don't want any connections with Marvin Lewis. I want to start all over here. That's how I kind of am with the defensive coordinator job right now. Even though I like Al, even though I would still take Al Golden, that's where I kind of want to shift, sort of.
Well, Al Golden's actually made. He went to a different place and to a different job and got better. So that's a little different than Livingston. So I'm with Derek. I don't want to reach out. Al Golden is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, yeah, he was a head coach at one time, but he's up and coming as far as the defense coordinator. He got knocked down. He's bringing himself back up. So that's a little different for me.
I think he might want to prove it it in the NFL too. Like that could be a reason for him to come here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think he's proven it at Notre Dame, but I also think Marcus Freeman's a hell of a coach. Look what's happened to Luke Fickell.
I would rather have
Marcus Freeman.
Like if Luke would have just left 1 year earlier, Freeman would have been our coach.
Yeah.
Damn it.
All right. Go ahead, Dustin.
I was gonna say I feel like Al Golden, his background is in college. I think he's kind of comfortable there, to be honest.
And he might be.
Yeah.
Some guys are built for college.
He is a Temple, Miami. He spent some time in the NFL, but I don't know. There's something about him. It feels like he's kind of found his place, the right place he should be in college. I just get that vibe, and I have no information on that directly, but it's more of a vibe thing,
Yeah, and like Austin says, he thinks Al should stay with Notre Dame. What they're building is pretty great, and that's a traditional powerhouse program, and you get to be a centerpiece of it.
And he'll make a lot of money there. Notre Dame will pay him pretty good too.
Yeah, and already did pay him last year. I don't know exactly what he's making, but I know it's pretty nice.
And Al Golden's defense, when he was at Miami, it wasn't. You got to remember that's when there was a big money thing going on. All the players are getting paid, and Miami literally had to start all over because of recruiting violations and all that and stuff. So he was in the midst of all that. So
and they still haven't recovered from that yet.
Exactly.
They almost did this year.
Almost.
Cam Ward, my guy, Cam Ward.
Well, it looks like he'll be with Callahan with Tennessee as of right now.
That's what it's looking like.
Callahan might be.
Wait, you don't think they're going to keep Mayonnaise Boy?
Yeah, I think that's
another place I could see Trey Brown. We talked about him interviewing with the Jets. I would be surprised now that they fired, is it Ron or Rod Carthorne?
Yes.
The Titans GM. It's one of the two.
After 1 year or something. Was it he just 1 year there?
I feel like he was there at least a couple.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of impatience.
I was wrong. So I was wrong all around.
Ran around.
Ran.
Yeah, that guy.
Hey, Ron.
Hey, Ron.
This is probably true. Joe Boo says, I heard Joy Taylor has a crush on Greg, guys.
I like Joy Taylor. I do like Joy Taylor.
Was that video you sent me earlier, Dale? Is that real?
What? Yes. What video?
The guy talking about the
Whitlock? Is it Jason Whitlock? Yeah, he said that.
I cannot believe
I said that's got to be
air.
AI. He said it. No one has said
God.
it isn't real. Have you guys seen that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
With her peanut butter skin and her big rack, he said, I know what I'm capable of. It's like just.
I feel like media is a big fuck fest.
Oh,
they spend so much time together.
It's just now coming out.
Yeah. I think you're going to hear every network probably. It's just funny how things spiral on Twitter and on social media where it just becomes everything's AI generated. So it's like stuff just like boom takes.
We're gonna hear how Sports with Strawberry Ice has been fucking sleeping around to get all these live show jobs. That's the next.
No, what it is Greg's been sleeping around all these guys.
All right, Derek's losing service, so whatever joke
Say,
he was
Derek,
going
what
to
the
make,
hell,
we'll
man?
never hear.
That's right, Derek.
He's
Shut the
keep
heck
us
up.
hanging on that joke.
Greg, who you been sleeping with?
You.
Greg, I wonder how you get all these former coaches and people to come on during the summer.
I don't know.
Greg is no different than a neighborhood doorknob. Everybody gets the term.
I thought you said a neighborhood dork at first.
Just say, what the heck, Austin?
Folks get laid these days. They're the millionaires now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's true.
But I was thinking about the assistant coaches. Here's like kind of the perspective I have. I feel like Zach's been somewhat insulated by like he called these guys their brothers. So when I think about like bringing a coach like with no connections, I'm thinking could be a very positive thing, not only from like the ideas, but like I kind of want the relationship between Zach and the defensive coordinator to be more of like a transactional relationship. Like you're here to coach the defense, and he's not so insulated by his guys anymore that kind of protect him. So now if somebody comes in and does a really good job, you know, or somebody comes in and it's like Zach's not holding up his end of the bargain, decision making, motivating the team. You don't have these guys around them that's kind of propping him up and supporting them, if that makes sense.
That's kind of what I said. I said I think this move puts Zach firmly on the hot seat next year if it doesn't work.
Oh, he's on the hot seat.
Yeah, he ain't got they got nobody.
They're not messing around.
Basically the whole defensive side of the ball, all the coaches are gone except for two, and they might be gone. You don't know. Plus your offensive line coach and your run game coordinator. I mean, that's a lot of people to get rid of. So the only ones left is Zach. You know.
Yeah, I think Burrow's definitely attached to the hip to him. I will say the tone felt a little bit different in some of his press conferences this year. Like they asked, like, "Hey, how did Zach, withstand kind of this year? How did you think he adapted?" He was very like, complimentary, but it wasn't like overly complimentary. I don't want to read too much into that. So I think you do hit this inflection point as like a player of his stature that like, okay, I recognize like I like him and he's great for my career, but to ascend to the next level, like I think a player at his level recognizes that like he's probably seeing some of the faults now, whatever we want to agree or disagree on those things. So I think even Joe Burrow has probably matured to a level of like, okay, like we need a different guy eventually, So I don't know. I just got
I didn't think Lou was getting fired because Joe said how he's friends with the family.
Yes.
I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's enough to.
Yeah, I always took it because people said that on my show, and I always took it as Joe is completely freaking frustrated because they keep losing games that they shouldn't lose.
Yeah,
and it's just frustration. And I mean, it could be frustration with Zach. It could be doesn't mean he's done with them.
Yeah,
but that's just because he's also come back and said how. I mean, and Joe had his best year ever. So who's the offense coordinator? Zach.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, but back to you. That's exactly what I thought when Joe Burrow credited Lou. I'm like, uh-oh. That's literally what crossed my mind. I'm like, all right, I guess Lou is staying and all that.
That's why I do feel like it's business. The business is different. Whoever's running it,
right?
It's been different. I think in the last couple of years.
Well, from the fan stuff too. What Elizabeth has done, our Queen Elizabeth. Except I haven't pulled this out in a while. Except this was not good enough for my brothers that are still going to have season tickets next year. Step up your game.
That set the tone for the year. I feel like,
yeah. Don't get cheap on it, on the people.
Yeah.
I like the AFC Championship ring we got.
Someone mentioned Paycor now being bought by Paychecks.
Yep, it's going to be Paycheck Stadium.
And we're going to be buying Paychecks soon.
The naming rights, could it go back to Paul Brown Stadium? I seen someone put on the internet.
No, it's going to get, if it changes, it's going to go to the Paycheck Stadium because.
How long's Paycor name been up there? How many seasons?
2.
2. Have we made the playoffs in either of those 2 seasons?
Nope.
All right, we're going back to Paul Brown Stadium.
Let's do it.
As much as I love Skyline Chili, the last time we were Gold Star, we were in the AFC Championship, so I don't know.
We're going back to Gold Star?
Fuck that.
Back to Paul Brown Stadium?
Nope, not Gold Star. Nope.
I love you, Skyline. I still love you, Skyline, but...
I self-admittedly, like, I'm glad. I work in tech, so seeing, like, Paycor was like, ugh, their technology's kind of terrible. So it's like paychecks is like way better, superb. So it's like I kind of like the idea of
just from that standpoint, Dustin is fully on.
Yeah, it's just we don't need some outdated.
I think depending on how long the contract is, it's going to get changed to Paycheck Stadium probably because why would Paycheck Stadium want to pay for something that or Paycheck Stadium? Why would Paycheck want to pay for Paycor Stadium when their name's
it won't
Paycheck?
be Paycor. Like it won't be.
Yeah, it'll probably be Paycheck.
Dustin and I, so me and Dale we were talking about this yesterday. For D-line coach, Damata Pecco, we found out it's an assistant. What about getting someone like Damata Pecco here? Former Bengal as the coach.
I'm going to check on my dog while Dustin answers that.
Okay.
I do like guys that are hungry at positional coaches because, those are the guys that are probably interacting with their players the most. Yeah. I really like that idea. I mean, and he does kind of like seem like a guy that can coach. Like he was always like somebody that hustled and played hard. And I thought he played with great technique when he played for us.
Yeah, he was very well respected. He was a captain, very well respected by the players. So I could, like you said, I could see that. I wouldn't be mad about it, or anything. I think that'd be interesting, Jeff.
No, that'd be definitely interesting. I was listening to Paul Daner with Mo Egger on his daily spot and or Tuesday spot, and I do like the idea. He was like, we don't want like these retread coaches that are just like. It's hard to think about it this way, but some of these guys, like, they got to work. It's a job. Where it's like you want guys that are ascending, maybe not like totally fresh.
Hungry guys. Hungry. Yeah, that's
hungry.
What I've been saying.
I want our team to be violent on defense. I want them to be.
Dustin, you're making my point. That's exactly what I was saying at the beginning. I keep saying like the big name guys are great, and I'm not saying I don't want them, but I'd almost prefer a young, hungry guy who is trying to make a name for himself and try to. I want a guy who's going to be a coordinator who wants to be a head coach. Those are the guys you want because they're going to keep striving because the better they do, the better chance they got to be the head coach. And that's what you want. You want Zach's quote unquote coach's tree to get bigger. You want that. So that's where I agree with it. Back to Pecco. I'm not against it. I don't think he's coached anything. Maybe high school, and I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I think if it happens,
he's coaching with the Cowboys, right?
Yeah, he's an assistant with the Cowboys.
Oh, he is
because of Mike Zimmer.
All right, never mind. I'm all for it.
Also,
never mind. I'm all for it.
They created a position for Paul Gunther because we didn't know what the hell happened with him. He is the defensive line run coordinator. So Gunther,
if Pecco's already coaching, then I'm all for it. I didn't know.
Pecco has been.
That was the only reason that we kind of Greg.
People brought that up, and I didn't know he was coaching with the Cowboys. So
Mike Zimmer.
I'm definitely for it. The one thing I brought up yesterday on my show is, and I don't know if I'm for this or not because I think it's got to really be a mesh with Zach's offense. But Willie Anderson as the offensive line coach.
Yeah, it was brought up on here too.
Yeah, it was.
And
I'm not for it or against it. I don't know how it would mesh. That's kind of where I'm at.
I think he's more for developing high school.
Well, that's why I said I think I would be for it because of the way he's developed. He is literally like his job has been developing high school kids to go to college, and I think that he's had to work on technique and getting these guys bought in on things. So that pushes me. But I think that's a good question. I'll let Greg go, and then we'll toss that same question down to Dustin on Willie Anderson.
Yeah, I'm for it, and I think Willie, he has always said, I remember we had Cedric Ogbuehi here. Willie kept begging the Bengals, let me coach him. I can help him out. So, he likes to coach offensive line. So, I think it'll happen? Probably not. But because I think he might just be like, look, I'm just more comfortable doing what I'm doing right now with my academy. But if we could, let's do it.
And one bad thing, he did also back up Jackson Carman too.
Dude,
that's ready to go.
Yeah.
And TJ Hushmazada, Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
So no more players. I love them, but I'm out.
Who was our other offensive line coach who recommended Ogbuehi Fisher? Who kept recommending
Paul Alexander?
No, Paul Alexander. I'm sorry, no.
Dylan here with an interesting one. As Dustin, if you want to expand on Willie Anderson, you can, but I think you made that pretty clear. You're out on that.
Yeah.
But Kansas O-line coach, I know that they've been developing dudes and having some really good O-lines the last couple
years. Is his contract up?
I have no idea anything about the guy. I don't even know who it is.
I don't know who he is.
But he said that, and it made me think because they've got multiple guys who petered out at other places, like Logan Brown at Wisconsin. And Wisconsin's a factory, and he goes to Kansas and has elite PFF grades. The Pooney, who just came out last year, it's been fantastic for the 49ers. And there's another kid, too. I'm missing somebody. But there's been the kid that transferred from A&M that's a center. He had a really good bounce-back season.
Yeah.
So I think that guy is really good. So I don't know who the hell it is, but I like that thought.
I would love to see who the Rams assistant offensive line coach is to maybe poach them. Obviously Taylor and McVay have that connection. Because if the Rams were down so many offensive linemen this year, and they played pretty well. So the guys that are able to like coach up lesser talent, and the scheme matches up, that I'd be interested in looking at that. I would actually like to see a breakout of like, okay, let's have a run game coordinator specifically, but then let's have an offensive line coach.
Because Dustin, my point to that was we had
I mentioned that before you came on.
Yeah, we had a passing game coordinator this year, and I think it helped. I think a lot of it was pitch, but a passing game coordinator I think helped too. And just to get like Dale said, if you do that, it's more guys, more coaches, more scouts. So I'm for it because what we're doing isn't working. So I think you split that job. And Zach said it wasn't out of the possibility. He didn't say which way he was going to go. I think it depends
Dustin, going to your point, because the Cleveland Browns offensive line coach that just got fired this year, he was with the Rams, and he was their offensive line coach, and Zach had a connection with him, like with the whole LA thing. And he interviewed for the offensive coordinator job if Pitcher was going to leave and all that. So I'm hoping in this case he does not get. I wouldn't shock me if Zach brought him in, but I hope he doesn't get the job. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
After that mess,
to go back to the Kansas O-line thing, it is whatever that name is.
Daryl Apalza?
I was literally searching the same thing, but I did also read this was his first year doing that job.
Really?
The other guy already got poached. So he already got poached elsewhere. Scott Fuchs. It's Fuchs. It's probably Fuchs. But
damn.
I think Scott Fuchs is a way more badass name.
Oh, dude, we would have to get him on the show if we ever got him.
Yeah. I don't know where that guy went. I have to now go in a deep rabbit hole of putting Scott Fuchs on my phone, and, well, that could – my wife might see that and go, what the hell is wrong with you? He went to the Titans. First season with the Titans as assistant offensive line coach.
Did you actually type in Fuchs? Did you actually type in?
Well, it's Fuchs. To be fair. Yeah, Scott Fuchs, because that's how I'm going to pronounce it. 30 seasons coaching at the college level, first year with the Titans. And guess where he coached with the Titans, who was their O-line coach, Brian Callahan's dad, Bill Callahan, and he coached well at Kansas. I'm all in on Scott Fuchs.
All right, let's do it then.
Scott Fuchs is my guy.
Scott Fuchs.
All right, I got a new O-line candidate. It's Scott Fuchs. Look him up, guys.
Let's get him.
Type it in your search engine.
Chop, that's a new shirt for you.
Oh, Chop will be all over that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Chop, you're just now waking up and pooping. You can hop on. I mean, you got to go to work.
What is your thoughts? Defensive line, we retain the secondary coach. Like, if that's temporary, a defensive coordinator comes in and like.
Well, Zach said he didn't know. Zach said it was up in the air. I personally think it depends on who they hire as a defense coordinator.
Yeah, I was going to say, wherever you hire D coordinator, he's going to say, okay, I want to bring in this guy.
And that kind of goes back to what we were saying, that me and Dale were like hoping whoever is defense coordinator gets to pick his own guys. Now, this is coming to my head now with Zach saying that, it sounds like whoever it is, he might be able to pick his own guys if they're not going to, because the Bengals have always, Mike Brown doesn't pay coaches to sit at home. Now I don't know if these guys still got contracts or not, but that's not another not Bengal thing. So
how many years did Lou actually have on his contract? Do we know?
I thought someone said a couple years. I thought somebody said that.
I thought he just signed an extension not that long ago.
And that's the thing. Like, he was fired, not just his contract wasn't renewed. Because I think that would have happened.
They still got to pay him.
I don't know how many years, but yeah. So I do think it is a little different. I think they want to keep Kovacs at safety, and I think they want to keep Burks at corner, or they wouldn't have already kept them. But I don't think they're ruling out if a defense coordinator comes in.
Yeah.
That they'll let him
If he
say,
wants
hey, I've
somebody
got
else.
this guy. I've got this guy. He's great, and he's coming
And
with
that's
me.
the thing you want. If you're a defense coordinator, you want a guy who goes, all right, well, like you said, well, what was your plan on 3rd and 7 or whatever? All right, who you got going to come
3rd and 17.
in?
It's not rushing 3.
Yeah,
that
3rd
is
and
the
17.
only thing I'm asking.
Yeah, 3rd and 17, and then it's like, all right, who would your coaching staff be? You know, so those are things. You know, that's got to figure out if Zach meshes with them or it's going to whatever. There's a lot to consider when you're doing this.
Imagine a life of a positional coach. You got to sit there and wait for the defensive coordinator to be hired, and then probably re-interview for the job that you already have.
That's why if you get an opportunity, sometimes even at a college program, to be the D coordinator and be like, "Hey, can you let me out of my contract to go do this?"
Yeah, and these guys might be looking for another job too.
Yeah,
if they're smart, they would, because there's nothing guaranteed here. And they've been calling up like, "Hey, you guys got something for me?" And they might leave on their own.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should feel safe on the defense after 3 coaches were fired, including the coordinator.
Yeah, no, I'd be scared to death getting that phone call. Like, who is this?
Just ignore it.
Well, no. Who's that one Bengals? No. Do you guys remember on the first Hard Knocks? There was always that guy telling a player, "We're putting you on waivers." I forget the guy.
Jim Lippincott, right?
Yeah. He was always that guy standing around. He's like,
He had the New Balance shoes on that would squish the walls. It was just like,
he's like, "We're putting you on waivers." Like,
bro, come in at like 4:30, knock on your door. 4:30.
J.D. Ruddles, that was the fullback. J.D. Ruddles. J.D. Ruddles. It was down to him and Baccaputa. He's like, "Did they say why?" I was like, "Nope, you're just gone."
Bro, he was getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Probably just so tired from the day before.
Yeah, it's like,
here's Jim staring at you, about to just,
Good morning. Get your shit and get out.
J.D. Ruddles. I can't believe I remember that.
That's what's made the training camp show very disinteresting now, because it's like one cut down day. You know, there's not really now the end season so much more better.
Have you guys guys liked the AFC North one?
I haven't watched it.
I haven't watched
it. Haven't?
I think it's okay. There's nothing shocking. I like it, but I'm not blown away by it.
It'd be better if the Bengals had a better season.
Yeah.
It'd be more interesting, but yeah.
You know,
I think it's been all right. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's solid. I'm not I like the end season one with the Giants, because
they talk about
it's more constructing the team and seeing how seeing the idiots that are on the Giants, but
Speaking of constructing a team, we'll kick this around and then we'll end this one. We're almost an hour in. Nothing good happens after an hour on this show. We've proven that so many times. But to move off the coaches to the players, we talked a little bit yesterday about the upcoming free agents that we have we'll just stick to the defensive side of the ball. BJ Hill, Mike Hilton, Joseph Osai, and Akeem Davis-Gaither. Who of those 4 would you bring back? And it's always cost comes in, but how many of those guys would you be really wanting back? And I'll go to Dustin and Iceman for that, because me and Greg both talked about this quite a bit yesterday.
BJ Hill for sure. Akeem Davis-Gaither for sure, because I just think our linebacking depth is, and I don't know. I don't think the market for him, and I think Hilton's going to be based upon philosophy. If you're a defensive coordinator that wants to play a lot of man, that's going to be tough for him, to survive. Yeah, so I think he's dependent upon who the next defensive coordinator. So Gaither and Hill for sure, as I would love to see them retain those guys.
I throw Osai in there too, just because.
Osai, yeah.
I throw him in there just because I think he turned a corner. Plus, he's a rotational guy. I don't think it's going to cost a lot to get him. But then I'll preface that with, you got to extend Trey Hendrickson. You got to extend him.
He's a Mulligata guy. Osai is, and me and Dad were talking. It just takes one team. And he's still 22, 23. I could see that
24.
One team.
Oh, he's a Mulligata guy? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
We're not resigning him. We're not resigning him then.
This is where we took our conversation yesterday and where I'll take it again before we end this show. So Osai's the Mulligata guy, and ending the season with 5 sacks or whatever it was, in the last 5 or 6 games, and being 24 years old. The money for Osai probably not going to happen here. Would you guys agree? Or
well, that and the Bengals have never negotiated with Mulligetta. So
No.
I'll tell you right now, Joseph, I love you, but you're not going to sign with us. That guy
well,
won't let
and if Lou gets a defensive coordinator job elsewhere, Trey Brown gets a GM job somewhere. There's going to be some of these guys with those connections too, and teams that also have money to spend. That I think, boom, he's probably there.
Is Battle a free agent? Battle's not a free agent.
No.
No, okay.
You know what would never be a free agent, though? Midwest Best Barbecue and Chop Shop, proud sponsor of the show. They would always be locked up for us on Bengals and Brews all the time.
Logan Wilson signed a contract. He's not going anywhere. I'm
reading
Austin's comments here.
Osai's going to end up on a 3-4 defense and getting like 8 sacks next year.
Yeah, I loved him coming out.
The thing is, this year his first healthy year. I mean, it took him till the 4-8 to start to really get going, but he finally got going. But yeah, I got a question for you guys. Do you resign Cam Sample? Because he's another one. Yeah, he's a free agent, and he's been hurt all year. What do you think about him?
Not opposed, personally. Not opposed.
It ain't gonna cost you a lot.
Exactly. That is the reason, Jeff, that I was going to say. It would be the simple fact that, hey, he might as well re-sign here and try to rebuild his value, and he has that positional flexibility. I still think he could be a 3-tech pass rusher, like he started to do in Mobile at the Senior Bowl and flashed there, and then we kept him strictly at end.
We need him as 3-tech now.
But it's always nice to have that rotational flex and for Rushman packages or NASCAR packages. As the we talked about that a lot in the preseason. I was hoping we were going to have that, but we never did. Rankins, I'm cutting him. What about you guys? 100.
Was he still alive?
As far as I know, I don't know what the heck's going on.
Jesus Christ!
Hope all the best for health, but you just got to cut him at his age. He didn't
play the last month of the season or a month and a half of the season.
You got to cut him. And even when he was on the field, he didn't do enough.
One other question for you guys: do you keep Stone, or you try to renegotiate his contract?
Up to the new defense coordinator is what I said earlier on Twitter. Because it depends their plan for him and let them evaluate him and how they want to use him. Because I think he's so much better as like a deep safety, as a guy who can roam and see everything and go and get the ball.
He works good if we have a 3-safety set. He would.
But also, when they had him blitz, I'm like, look, just get someone that can get to the quarterback fast or something. Yeah?
Well, when he blitzes, he doesn't tackle.
I know, but at least he get the quarterback
Very inconsistent. I would have been all in on Geno Stone up till the last month and a half of this past season to say he's out. I would have 100%.
I was saying that too until he started playing. So
that's where a lot of good stuff from him.
Right. That's where I kind of like. That's the thing for me with Lou. It took Lou too long to figure this shit out.
Well, what I just couldn't stand was Lou acting like Marvin Lewis, just always playing the veterans over the rookies. Give these young guys a chance and.
Like Jordan Battle should have started a long time ago. Long time ago.
Stone's cap hit is like $8 million next year. I'm kind of like, oh no.
I think Spotrac, you get at least. It's almost like you get almost the whole thing, like 6.5 to 8. I'm pretty sure against the cap that you would save by cutting him.
Yeah,
so that's why I was 100% saying he's gone. But
if you let him go, who's
still leave it up to the D coordinator.
Yeah, if you cut him, who's the safety room? You got him. You got Tyson Anderson and.
Dejon Anthony, who they obviously lost complete trust. They lost complete trust in playing him.
And Von Bell. No, Von Bell's not coming back.
No,
I don't think so.
Safety.
That's the thing. Is if you don't cut him, you don't have a lot in that safety. If you do cut him, you don't have a lot in that safety room.
Yeah.
That's the one caveat is unless you got somebody play a free agent already talking to him, which they're already talking to some of these guys. I don't care what anybody says.
It'll be assessment against what you can get in the draft too. It's like you see value at edge rusher.
I agree with this.
Osai, might be gone because you can grab a second round edge rusher for cheaper. That could probably maybe give you close to the same production. So,
and Hubbard, guys, like I think maybe he even retires. He's not getting any younger. But there's no way I can save what? It's like $10 million against the cap.
Yeah,
there is no way I'm not cutting Sam Hubbard.
Yeah,
I love everything he's done, but
I'd bring him back on a lower salary, but I'm definitely cutting him. Only reason I would constantly bring him back is because he's the leader on that defense. And losing DJ Reader was huge. And it's him and Trey.
That's my reasoning for Mike Hilton.
Yeah, I agree. But see, the thing, Mike
might
Mike.
not play as much.
Yeah.
But you could bring him in as the guy off the edge, the blitz package.
Yeah, you bring him in for me. You bring him in for packages.
Could you transition Mike to a little bit of a safety type role? I wouldn't rule that out personally. Right. Mm-hmm. I think he's a very smart guy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why, but I think he's a hell of a leader.
Yes, and we can't keep losing those guys.
Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, with Sam Hubbard. Well, here's what got me. They knew Sam Hubbard came out and said, "Oh, I had an injury. If I had to get surgery, I would have missed the season." They knew he had injury issues, and when Miles Murphy got hurt, they didn't go out and get anybody. Yannick Ngakoue was still sitting out there, and then we tried to claim him at one point, and it didn't happen or anything. That's just what irritated me the most. They knew Hubbard was going to had this injury issue, and they were saying, "Okay, you're starting the entire time." And that's what I just
pretty wild.
That's where I think Lou messed up and should have started getting Osai out there. Because Miles Murphy, I still think there's something there. He just didn't play enough.
Cedric Johnson, look at him. He came in and got a sack. Why not?
Right.
Listen, we all love Von Bell, and I got the thing KB Art here print in the background, and everything he did in his first run. But it was pretty clear that wasn't the same Von Bell we were getting back this season. And to not have Jordan Battle playing more earlier is a trap. And listen, Battle had his ups and downs too. I'm not saying he was perfect, but he should have been in there, second-year guy with a lot more upside.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if you guys agree with this, like throw the records and expectations to the side. It felt like one of the more puzzling coaching years I've seen of the Bengals in terms of like personnel decision.
It's like they didn't have a plan. Yeah, it's kind of like, all right, I'll put it this. I think the last 2 years in free agency, they haven't had a plan. Like, I don't think they planned on losing Von Bell last year. They knew they were going to lose Jesse Bates, but then when they lost Von Bell, they're like, oh shit, now what do we do? And same thing, guys. I don't think they had a plan for losing DJ Reader. I don't think they thought anybody was going to sign him. Then he left. They're like, oh shit, what are we going to do? They got to have a plan. They have to have an A, B, C, and D plan. And that's the thing. Is like you can't just have one plan. And well, if that doesn't work. Well, I don't know. And before that, it seemed like they had a plan and it worked. Because, they hit on a lot of free agents before that. The last years, their free agency has been awful. It's been awful.
Yeah. They tried to reinvent the wheel with free agency, like going back to the magic that they had before and signing these like ascending players. And it just, Gilsicki played, I guess, like ascending, whatever you want to call it.
I'm signing him. I'm re-signing him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If he
wants no money, not at $8 million, but if I can get him 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Per year.
And he wants to be here. Dale, you hit your finger up. What were you going to say?
Well, Huda 88, Jerome, Brew Crew, shout out y'all. Always keeping us on our toes. They signed 11 players to future contracts. So it's a lot of the guys that were on the practice squad. Micah Abraham, who I like, the corner that picked up through the season. Marshall. Gary Brightwell was the guy they brought in through the season when we all thought they were going to potentially sign Leonard Fournette. Because he was also in for a workout. Cornerback Nate Brooks, wide receiver Cole Burgess, O-tackle Andrew Coker, who I'm not a fan of. I will say that. Raymond Johnson III, preseason legend, who we got back late in the season on the practice squad. I really liked him. PJ Jules, the safety, was with us in the preseason as well. Jalen Key, we brought in late, another safety. Guard Tayshawn Manning out of Kentucky. Go Cats, C-A-T-S. C-A-T-S, cats.
Bearcats! What?
Kendrick Pryor, wide receiver, still around, keeping him around, and linebacker Craig Young. So any names off of that list, we'll start with you, Greg, down to Ice and over to – well, I'll start with Dustin. Let's do the opposite order. Let's make Greg wait.
Yeah,
any names that you're like there or think could future make the roster? 53.
Yeah, Raymond Johnson. I've always been a fan of Kendrick Pryor. I think he's just a good depth piece to have, most of these players. I was pissed that who's that big-ass defensive tackle that I got poached from us? Is that Justin Thomas?
Justin Rogers.
From
Auburn, like 350, and then Cowboys had him, cut him, or something, and something happened. We got him, but then we never. Then they poached him back on their 53.
Yeah. I really like the Cool Burgess kid. I know he went to a smaller school. I'd like to see
Cortland, which was Dan Pitcher's school, right, Greg?
Yeah. I'd like to see like what kind of preseason he has, but outside of that, no real, feedback on some of the other players.
You're asking guys who can make the roster, is what you're saying?
Is there anybody on that list you're happy to see them that they could compete for a 53 spot next year? Just any of them.
Yeah, Raymond Johnson.
Yeah.
Just based upon positional, depth.
And most likely, none is the correct answer.
I mean, I don't see any of them, be honest. There are going to be practice squad guys again. But, I mean, it's good to have them. But none of them really stand out to me, to be honest.
That's fair.
I guess whatever happens with Burton, I don't know. Pryor, maybe there's a path there.
They're going to draft another wide receiver.
Hey, Dale, that Burgess guy. You see that big tall guy we got from the XFL?
No, that was Akeem. Akeem, whatever. Remember, he was a.
Okay, that's right. I was going to say
Burgess was the kid out of Cortland State or whatever, which is the same
Cortland
college.
Sunny. Yeah.
Same college that Dan Pitcher went to. Like just a random small thing.
Yeah.
Undrafted kid we brought in at wide receiver. And I do think that's a good one too.
Yeah. Well, after I'll get my opinion, I got to hop off. But yeah, I mean, I guess Kendrick Pryor, he's been on here a couple of years. He's got experience, but I just can't see the Bengals yet. Especially like that says if Jared Burton doesn't work out, I can't believe the Bengals will say, okay, this guy's the next person up. And you know me, I'm a big Yoshi guy. I am, but
you are.
That's something like that. But if Burton doesn't work out, you have to bring someone else in. And I just don't think that would be Pryor.
The name I forgot to mention, PJ Jules. So, like Bengals like to keep like safety positions around for like special teams. I know they kind of liked him in the preseason. Yeah, they liked him in the preseason. His special team prowess. And I think he made a couple plays. So that could be someone to keep an eye on too,
And mine, I'm going right back to the top of that list, Micah Abraham, who we brought in. I had a 6th round grade on him. He was in the draft guide. When we picked him up, I liked it. He's out of Marshall. He had like 10 interceptions his last 2 seasons at corner. He's a little undersized, but maybe that's a slot. Maybe that's the Jalen Davis type role that maybe he starts on the practice squad, but he makes his way up next year to the 53 as a backup slot corner if there's an injury. Like Micah Abraham is my guy to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I like him too.
All right, guys, we'll end this one. We're an hour and 12 minutes in. You guys are freaking awesome. You never know. If they keep canceling my damn school because we got over a foot of snow, I might keep doing shows. And if the Bengals keep having any kind of news, we might keep doing shows. But we should be back Friday regardless.
Man, what's it like doing a show every day?
I don't know, man.
I don't know, bro.
Dale, you're soft, bro. Get out there. Get to work. Get to work, Lebowski. The revolution's over.
Call me soft down here in this garage with this 15-degree weather.
Show the gloves again. You got to put your camera back on. Show the
football weather, baby.
Got to show the gloves Dale's wearing.
Let's see the gloves.
No, my kids are coming in here now, so I definitely got to go.
So I got to put some clothes on them, butt ass naked.
No.
Holland and freaking Zendaya are engaged.
I already saw that. Yeah, Tom Holland's and Zendaya are engaged. Congratulations. All right, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in.